Welcome to WealthWise, where we simplify money and empower financial success, whether you're growing personal wealth or managing nonprofit finances. Nonprofits exist to create social impact, but their ability to sustain operations and fulfill their mission depends heavily on financial management. At the heart of nonprofit financial health is net asset analysis, a critical tool that informs leaders, board members, and stakeholders about an organization's financial position and sustainability. This video will break down the definitions, classifications, implications, real-world examples, and how net asset analysis is used for budgeting and forecasting. By the end, you will have a clear, professional understanding of how net assets influence decision-making and long-term strategic planning. In the nonprofit world, net assets represent the organization's financial strength at a given point in time. They are equivalent to equity in for-profit businesses, as they indicate what remains after deducting liabilities from total assets. However, unlike businesses that focus on profit maximization, nonprofits aim to generate resources for mission-driven activities, making net asset analysis a crucial metric for sustainability, liquidity, and compliance. Let's take an example of Hope for All Foundation. If their total assets, cash, receivables, property, and investments, amount to $5 million, and they owe $2 million in liabilities, such as outstanding grants payable and long-term debt, their net assets stand at $3 million. However, just knowing the total net assets is not enough. We must examine how they are categorized to understand the financial flexibility, liquidity, and donor-imposed restrictions on these funds. The classification of net assets is a critical aspect of nonprofit financial reporting. The Financial Accounting Standards Board, FASB ASU 2016-14, requires nonprofits to categorize net assets into two main classes: net assets without donor restrictions and net assets with donor restrictions. These categories provide clarity on how funds can be used and whether they are freely available for operational needs. Let's break them down. These are funds that the nonprofit can use for any purpose, including administrative expenses, salaries, rent, and new initiatives. These assets provide financial flexibility and are essential for day-to-day operations and long-term strategic planning. Imagine Helping Hands Foundation receives $500,000 in general donations. Since these funds have no restrictions, the organization can use them for anything, from covering rent to launching new programs. Funds in this category must be used according to the donor's intent. They can be temporarily restricted for a specific program, capital project, or time period, or permanently restricted as endowments that generate income for designated activities. Suppose Books for Change receives a $1 million grant that must only be used to purchase books for children in underserved communities. The nonprofit must segregate these funds in its financial reporting and ensure compliance with the donor's specifications. Endowments represent long-term financial sustainability, as the principal remains intact, while the organization spends only the generated investment returns. Many universities, hospitals, and large nonprofits rely on endowments for funding key initiatives. Harvard University, for instance, manages a $53 billion endowment, where a portion of the returns is used annually to support academic programs, scholarships, and research, while keeping the principal invested for future generations. Analyzing net assets allows nonprofit leaders to make data-driven decisions about financial health, sustainability, and risk management. It impacts fundraising strategies, grant compliance, and financial planning. A high percentage of unrestricted net assets means the nonprofit has greater flexibility. Restricted net assets must be monitored and reported correctly to maintain donor trust. Understanding net assets helps organizations allocate funds efficiently for long-term impact. Water for All discovered that although they had $4 million in net assets, only $500,000 was unrestricted. This financial constraint led them to launch an unrestricted fundraising campaign, raising an additional $1 million to ensure smooth operations. Net asset analysis plays a crucial role in the annual budgeting process, ensuring that organizations align their financial resources with strategic priorities. Nonprofits must balance unrestricted and restricted funds while planning for future revenues, operational costs, and long-term sustainability. Assess available funds to determine financial flexibility. Forecast donor contributions, grants, and investment returns. Ensure compliance while maximizing impact. Set aside unrestricted funds for emergencies and future expansion. Education First found that 80% of their funds were restricted, leaving them vulnerable to operational cash flow issues. They incorporated this analysis into their 2025 budget, reallocating resources to strengthen unrestricted funding through new fundraising initiatives. A well-managed nonprofit doesn't just track revenue and expenses. It leverages net asset analysis to ensure long-term stability and mission fulfillment. Whether you're an executive, a financial professional, or a board member, understanding net assets empowers you to make strategic decisions that drive impact and sustainability. Use net asset trends to guide financial planning and decision-making. Maintain a strong balance between restricted and unrestricted funds. Leverage financial reporting to communicate transparency with donors and stakeholders. Want more insights on nonprofit financial management? Subscribe to our channel for expert content on budgeting, financial strategy, and sustainability. Let's build financially strong and mission-driven organizations together. Also, stay tuned to the next topic, which dives deeper into understanding net asset beyond restricted and unrestricted category.
When nonprofit leaders hear the term net assets, they often think of just two categories: restricted and unrestricted funds. But did you know there's much more to the story? Your nonprofit's financial stability, liquidity, and strategic planning all depend on understanding the hidden components of net assets, the backstory behind those numbers. In this video, we'll break down what truly makes up net assets beyond the basic classifications, the hidden risks and opportunities in your balance sheet, how to leverage net asset insights for better financial planning and budgeting. By the end, you'll have a deeper financial understanding that will empower you to make smarter decisions for your nonprofit's future. Most people see net assets as a simple calculation. But what really matters is what's inside those assets and liabilities. Here's a breakdown of the key components that determine net asset balances. Cash and cash equivalents, the liquid funds available for immediate use, receivables, grants, donations, pledges, future funds owed to the nonprofit, investments and endowments, long-term financial stability through earnings, fixed assets, property, equipment, buildings, physical assets that provide value, prepaid expenses, costs paid in advance, for example, rent, insurance, liabilities, loans, payables, grant obligations, what the nonprofit owes. Community Growth Initiative has $2 million in net assets, but a closer look reveals $500,000 in cash, good liquidity, $1.2 million in grants receivable, future funding but not available now, $300,000 in property, non-liquid. This tells us that even though net assets appear strong, cash flow could become an issue. Many nonprofits look at their net assets without fully considering how liabilities impact financial health. Even with a high net asset balance, excessive liabilities can indicate financial risk. Short-term payables, vendor invoices, payroll liabilities, deferred revenue, grant funds received but not yet earned, long-term debt, loans for facility expansion or large projects, grant obligations, multi-year donor restrictions requiring careful management. Education for All reported $3 million in net assets, but $2 million was tied up in deferred grant revenue. This meant only $1 million was truly unrestricted, limiting their ability to invest in operational growth. A non-profit's financial stability often depends on how well they manage investments and endowments. Endowment funds. These provide long-term financial stability, investment income generating earnings to support unrestricted activities. Board-designated funds, internally restricted funds that act as savings. Harvard University has an endowment of $53 billion, using a portion of the returns each year while keeping the principal invested. Non-profits of all sizes can adopt a similar model for long-term financial health. Even if a non-profit has a high net asset balance, there are hidden risks to watch out for. Over-reliance on restricted funds. If most assets are restricted, cash flow issues may arise. Large grants receivable pledged funds aren't available until collected. Property and equipment versus liquid assets, high fixed assets may reduce financial flexibility. Underfunded operating reserves, low unrestricted funds mean financial instability. Global Relief Fund had a $10 million net asset balance, but $8 million was tied up in property and grants receivable, leaving only $2 million for operational costs. This put them at risk of liquidity shortages. Now that we've broken down net assets, how can we use this knowledge for better budgeting and planning? Analyze liquidity versus fixed assets. Ensure unrestricted cash flow is strong. Plan for grant restrictions. Budget based on when restricted funds become available. Monitor debt and long-term liabilities. Avoid overextending financial commitments. Strengthen operating reserves. Build a strong unrestricted fund base. Leverage investments and endowments. Use long-term earnings for financial stability. Sustainable Future Foundation used net asset analysis to adjust their budget, reducing reliance on restricted grants and increasing unrestricted fundraising, improving their long-term financial resilience. Understanding net assets beyond restricted and unrestricted is essential for non-profit sustainability and financial success. Key takeaways. Look beyond the basic net asset balance to analyze true financial health. Identify risks by assessing liquidity, liabilities, and restricted versus unrestricted funds. Use net asset analysis to inform budgeting, planning, and sustainability strategies. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, comment. Tell us your biggest non-profit finance challenge. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more financial strategy insights. Thriving non-profits financial growth charts and successful budgeting meetings.